Howdy y'all, Trin here, and today we're going to the Macallan Manor. And Macallan is one hell of a whiskey I hear, but I don't really know too much about it, so you know what I did? I brought an expert.
A semi-expert. I do enjoy drinking it, that is for sure.
This is my buddy Kurt. He's not giving himself enough credit. Let's just say, this guy knows what he's talking about. Tell us a little bit about this whiskey.
So Macallan is one of the more distinguished single malt scotches you will probably ever hear. As you'll know, most standard people they may not even be scotch drinkers, but when you talk about Macallan, they know a little bit about it. So originally started back in 1821 when they first were created, and are one of the best single malt scotches for your money.
What is the difference between a whiskey and a scotch, really?
So realistically, every place has their same, has a little slightly different rules. So Scotch has to be made in Scotland. Very similar to Champagne having to be made in Champagne, France, Chianti having to be made from the Chianti region. It could be the exact same build, it could be the exact same mash bill, it could be everything. They could do the entire distillation process the exact same, but if it is not made in Scotland, it cannot be called Scotch.
Let's check this out and see how cool it is. From what I hear, it's a really nice little walkthrough. They take you through all sorts of little exhibits and tastings. So I'm excited to learn more.
Deep in the Highlands of Scotland sits a picturesque region known as Speyside. There, bordered by barley fields, cattle, and the salmon-filled Rivers Bay, sits the beautiful Macallan Estate.
Nearly 200 years ago, our founder, Alexander Reed, rented 8 acres of land to start one of the first legally licensed distilleries in Scotland. Today, the Macallan Estate stretches across 485 acres, a minor upgrade.
Also featured is a classic Highland manor, which we call the Easter Elkies House.
We've taken some creative license to bring you a series of tasting experiences based on the unexpected.
Tonight, you are all going to explore all of the elements of the Macallan that distinguish it from all other whiskeys. But before we do that, we need to know what whiskey is, yes?
Yeah. All right, now, you may not realize it, but in that short walk, we have just traveled miles over state lines. Would you believe it? Welcome to a forest in Kentucky. Come on in. Be brave. Welcome.
All right. Welcome, everyone. You've just arrived in Kentucky, believe it or not. And more specifically, we are in a forest that is filled with oak trees. So in a sense, the story of the Macallan has 2 beginnings. One right here in the American oak trees of Kentucky, and one nearly 4,000 miles away in the Spanish oak trees of Galicia, which is a region in northwestern Spain. But, what makes the Macallan unique is that rather than add caramel coloring to give it the color, we're actually making sure that 80% of the flavor and 100% of the color coming directly from the wood. So, here we are, where it all begins. Now imagine, 100 years ago, an acorn just fell to the ground, and then over time it sprouts into a little sapling, and then if it's lucky, it will grow into a majestic oak tree reaching 100 feet tall. And then this very tree will be assessed by Stuart McPherson, our Master of Wood. If that title sounds a little unique, it's because it is. See, Stuart is the only person in the entire industry to claim Master of Wood because he's been learning and training in the craft of cask making and has really become an expert in how the wood and the spirit interact to make our whiskey. So once the wood is finally dried, it gets forged into casks and then seasoned with dry Oloroso sherry for another 18 to 24 months. And then the sherry gets emptied out of there, and now the cask is finally ready for the spirit. So now that you understand just the very first chapter of our whiskey's journey, perhaps we're ready to try some for ourselves. What did we say? Yes, wonderful. And now I know you might be very curious about what we have in store in our forest. And these are here to heighten and stimulate your senses alongside the double cask. So if you can spare a few sips for your journeys, I promise it'll be worth it. There's plenty more tonight. Now, right to your right behind these folks is all about our sherry and our casks. So basically what we've done here is, although the real oak staves aren't edible, that one is. So we have created this edible oak stave for you to taste, and it's not to fear, it's not actually wood. It's a custom fruit leather that's inspired by the Oloroso sherry, and you'll taste a light vanilla and a smoke that's inspired by the oak. So if you could actually take a bite out of that sherry seasoned cask, that might be what you're tasting, all right? Now behind me, we're gonna dive in a little more into the aromas that you might experience when nosing the whiskey. So this will really strengthen your sense of smell. And then right behind you there are some of the strongest flavors of the whiskey for you to taste alongside.
You may not realize it, but in that short distance, we have just traveled all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. You really traveled this time, friends. Well done. Welcome to the Macallan Estate in Scotland. My darling, will you enter first? Thank you. Come on in, my loves. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to the dunnage warehouse here at the Macallan Distillery in Scotland. This is where we oversee the peaceful maturation of our whiskey. And the unique shape of the stills is actually a matter of national pride in Scotland. They did once appear on the back of a £10 note. Ultimately though, this distillation gives us this, the Macallan New Make Spirit. And it is worth noting that we've purposely set up these amber lights to make this exercise very difficult. Good, very confident room, excellent. So we're not going to make a decision just yet, because we are going to use our noses. You will notice a number of aroma jars in front of you. They have been grouped according to each of the whiskey's character. So the idea here is, we're going to nose each of these aroma jars. We're going to try to pick out those flavour notes in the corresponding glasses. Let's do that now, please. Thank you. Let's open up the senses. Let's get a feel for things. Blind man at an orgy. Okay, we can now turn our attention to the glass on the right. And we're actually going to go straight on to a little piece of blue cheese first of all, before we take that glass on the right. So a little piece of the blue cheese. The blue cheese, folks, is the other cheese.
Kurt, what do you think? Which one's your favorite?
The notes on the 15 is definitely my favorite.
Now, unfortunately, this is where our time together is at an end. Thank you for exploring with me tonight. I now lead you to the capable hands of our very special guest. But before we go, you will need to leave your glasses and your aprons here. But if you're still savoring those cheeses, feel free to bring those with you.
So Tina,
Yeah,
what did you think of that whole thing?
I guess it's
I thought it was really cool to have somebody walk me through how to do whiskey tasting and really inform me of like what I'm smelling and what I'm savoring in my mouth.
I want to propose a toast to all of you, so please lift up from your glasses. I hope you still have some whiskey left. If you don't, it's okay, there's more whiskey to be had. But to the past, that it doesn't define us, to the present, that it may not confine us, and to the future, for it one day will find us. Now, in Gaelic, this cheers I'm going to say to you means to your health. So please repeat it back to me because I like to be healthy as well. So to everyone, sláinte.
Sláinte.